Hi everyone, this is Heather Lautinen from the Flourish.Academy. This is episode 227. Yes, I'm wearing a lav mic today. I'm going to try out some different mics for these videos because the people on YouTube are very angry that I don't mic my live videos. So I'm going to test out a few things and see if I can get it to work and sound better. You'll have to let me know. Yesterday, I created a post on the Flourish Academy. I will post the link below to my favorite books for 2017. Now, most of you know that I read about a book a week. At least that's my goal. So I read close to around 50 books this past year, and I pulled out 12 that were my favorites. So I created a blog post out of that. But I also created a page on the Flourish Academy showcasing all of the major books I've read over the last decade. So it's a pretty big list. I'll post that link below as well. You know that I'm a big reader. I believe that leaders read and readers lead, and all of the information in the world is at the access of your fingertips in these books, and you don't read it, you're crazy. Good morning, Susie. Thank you. Okay, so out of the 12 books that I posted for 2017, I have just a few of them here. I wanted to point out just a few special points. This one by Brian Tracy, Master Your Time, Master Your Life, was one of my favorites. It made my top 12. And I love this because I love anything about time management, really, not time management, self-management. And I also love anything and everything by Brian Tracy. He is one of my favorite authors, and he is prolific. He has a ton of books. I've read most of them. All excellent. Cannot go wrong with any book from Brian Tracy. But I read this one. Actually, what I do is in all of my books, I write the month and year that I read it. So you'll see it says January 2017. I also mark pages. I write all throughout my books so that I can learn. I believe it's a learning experience. I do not keep my books pristine at all. There's no reason for that. And I also loan out a lot of my books, which means some of the ones I wanted to talk about today are missing. I'm not sure where they're at. That's okay. But one thing I want to leave you with on this book is to challenge your assumptions. What if you are completely wrong in the way you view something? And most of us are, because we have limiting beliefs. I love that. Also, you become what you think about most often. So if you are thinking about lack and scarcity in terms of your business or your life, and you focus in, like laser focus on that, then your brain is going to find a way to affirm that, and it's going to find more of it. So you become what you think about most often. Tony Robbins says, what you focus on, you will feel, and what you focus on will grow. Therefore, be careful what you think about, which is a perfect segue. I didn't plan this, into all-time favorite. If you don't know who Carol Dweck is or about this mindset book, then you need to get out from under the rock that you live in and get your hands on this. This is fascinating. I love all books on psychology, but this mindset, and there's a lot of books on mindset right now, but Carol Dweck is the leading expert on the scarcity versus growth and abundance mindset. Really interesting. So she asks questions like, do you believe that you have all of the intelligence that you'll ever have, that you're either born smart or not smart, and that's just kind of the way it is, and people will say, oh, they're gifted in this area but not this area. That is so false and such a lie, because you can always be expanding your knowledge. And Carol Dweck, oh man, listen, it's a pretty technical read. There's a lot of studies and data in here, which I love, but I know some people can struggle to get through that. It is worth your time. Again, this was in January of 2017. One of my favorites. This is especially important if you are an entrepreneur, and we are in photography, because you'll start to be able to pick up on things that you say and that others say that point to the fact that they have a scarcity mindset. And this awareness is the first step. So it's not that you're going to try to fix it right away necessarily, but you become more aware of it. And that is key, because now when I meet with people and we start talking about their business or what they're working on, I can pick up on the terms that they use and the things that they say that tell me that they might have a scarcity mindset. By the way, we all do to some degree. You'll never be able to eliminate it completely, but at least you can recognize it. And then I can help them overcome that. Carol Dweck, I love you. This book was a surprise to me. Crucial Conversations. I heard about it in a podcast. I don't remember which one. I listen to podcasts as much as I read, so there's no telling. And let's see if I marked this. I read in October of this year. So this is pretty recent. I actually picked up this book because I have a teenager. My teenage daughter, Ella, is 15, and she is amazing. Many of you know her. She is the sweetest thing. You can see videos of her. She's very mature. She is awesome. But that doesn't mean we don't have issues and we don't have to deal with crucial conversations. So I picked up this book with that in mind, raising my kids better. What I was surprised about is how much I can use this in my business and in my marriage. Oh my goodness. So one thing that really resonated with me was who was the author? Oh, there are a whole bunch of authors. That's why I didn't know who it was by. There's all the authors. There they are. Patterson, Grenny, McMillan, and Switzler. That's a lot of authors. Anyway, one thing that surprised me, not surprised me, that's not the wrong word, resonated with me, was that when you are dealing with a crucial conversation, you have to recognize that you both usually have the same goal. If you don't, you need to find a shared goal. So I started using this just in my marriage and the way Craig and I work together, which, by the way, we work together really well. We very rarely have conflict or disagreements. We're both pretty easygoing and things just work well for us. But if I'm irritated by something, instead of maybe getting mad at him, I try to identify the common goal. And I learned that from this book. I am telling you what, this shocked me. I was almost prepared not to like that. Isn't that funny? I bought this because someone recommended it on a podcast, and I thought, yeah, blah, 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 I need to learn that. I was shocked at how much I loved this book and how helpful it has been in everything. Right after I read it, I had to have two that I can think of super crucial conversations with clients of mine, mentoring clients, where I had to deliver some pretty uncomfortable and hard truth, but I wanted to do it in a way that was loving, caring, serving, and encouraging, even though it might be difficult to hear. No, this did it! I was so happy with this book. I will definitely reread it. It's one of my top 12 of 2017. Please pick that up. Okay, this book, David and Goliath. First of all, let me say this. Anything by Malcolm Gladwell, to me, is fascinating. I love all of his books, and I always have. So this is funny, this book, I picked this up on audio in August of 2017 to listen to while we were driving to vacation. Love road trips, mostly because I can listen to 2, 3, sometimes 4 audiobooks, which is fantastic. So I listened to this on audio, loved it so much, I decided I had to buy it so that I could read it in print. And I did, and I loved it. So the David and Goliath story, many of you are familiar with this. I don't think you have to even be Christian to know this story, but it's about the underdog overcoming the giant. But the way he explains it is so interesting. Now, I referenced this in several previous videos, one of which when I said, what if what you view as your biggest disadvantage is actually an advantage? And that came from this book. So something that you think is keeping you small or holding you back may actually be something that you can use as an advantage over someone like Goliath. So I look at, I can't even really think of a good example for photography wise. I mean, there's like big name famous photographers, who have their names out there, and sometimes we feel like the small little guy, at least I do. But there are things that we have, there are advantages that we have that they don't. And this is very interesting. When I gave my talk at the Pro Convention to camera store owners, I really based a lot of it off of this book because I said, listen, I know you feel like it's you against B&H or Amazon, and how could you possibly compete with them? But you have a distinct advantage with your relationships and people and working directly with people and getting to know them. I cannot recommend this enough. It's an easy, quick read. He does a really good job of putting the stories together. Thank you, Malcolm Gladwell, forever and ever. Amen. All right, Charles Duhigg. You may have heard of Charles Duhigg. He is the famous author of The Power of Habit, which is an excellent book. I read that one last year, liked it so much that I picked up Smarter, Faster, Better, and I think I liked this one better. Look at all those markings in this book. You can see right there. When did I read this? October. Oh my gosh. Lies, all lies. I read it October 2016. Well, it's still one of my favorites from 2017 because I read it again and I love it. So interesting. Okay, again, I like data and case studies. Now, I don't remember if it was Smarter, Faster, Better or The Power of Habit, where he showcased the marketing of Target. Okay, who doesn't love Target? Do you know that Target knows everything about you? They pay a lot of money to know a lot of things about you, and it's so interesting to me. Even though I know I'm getting played, I still go there and spend my money. So fascinating. And again, I can't remember which book it was in, whether it was Smarter, Faster, Better or The Power of Habit, but he had this whole section on how Target markets and how they know you're pregnant before you do. And in fact, the one study, the famous study that you may have heard of, was Target started sending coupons to this 13-year-old girl. I think she was 13, maybe 13 or 15, for diapers and like all this baby paraphernalia. And her dad flipped out and called Target and made this big fuss about how inappropriate it was that they were sending her these ads. And it turns out she actually was pregnant. Target knew she was pregnant, before her family, but I think even before she knew. And the reason they did that is because they study the data on what we as women do purchase or look at prior to knowing that we're pregnant. Is that crazy? They know everything. And I point this out to Ella too. I show her how they, the marketing culture and consumerism, and how you will go to Target and look at something and then a day later you'll get an email because you looked at X, Y, or Z. And it's usually because you purchased something. It's just so interesting to me to learn about all of that big data and how they use it. That wasn't the point of the book per se, but it was just interesting to learn about it. So I would definitely recommend picking this up. Again, his books are very technical. Reminds me of Carol Dweck, and she likes a lot of data, and that's great. But for some people that can get a little bit dry. You prefer books that teach things through story, which is a little more interesting. But I urge you to push your way through that book. Okay, the last book I want to talk about, remember there were 12. I narrowed this down to 12 from a pretty big list. I'll post that link when we finish here. But there's one I want to talk about, and I don't have it right now because I let someone borrow it, and I don't remember who, but I really want to get it back. It's called Manifesting Made Easy. Author, escapes me. Now, this was a unique read for me this year. Many of you know that I'm a scientist, I have an engineering background, and I'm also a Jesus lover. I'm a Christian. So when I hear books like about manifesting, I tend to be a little cautious. They sound really like frou-frou to me, and I prefer more of the Charles Duhigg, Carol Dweck approach and not the frou-frou approach. But you can't learn and grow unless you challenge your assumptions and push yourself beyond something that you're familiar with. My very close friend, Nicole Begley, is very good at pushing me past my limiting beliefs on these issues. What if the way you view something is not actually the way that it is? Because remember, you don't see the world as it is. You see the world as you are. And I am acutely aware of that. So I decided that this year I would read a bunch of books that were way out of my comfort zone, meaning they made me kind of roll my eyes. I was like, really? Manifesting? And there's more. There's many more that I read this year. They're on the same topic, and it turns out I loved them all. Another one is The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. Jen Sincero writes these books called You Are a Badass. And I don't care for the language on the book because I don't think that's necessary, but it was excellent. Anyway, in Manifesting Made Easy, I went nuts over this book. I could not believe how interesting it was. So I started to apply some of the things I was learning in my life, and it blew my mind. I have story after story I could share with you, and I wish I had thought of a good example. Maybe I'll come back to that, but where I would think of things, that I wished for it to happen, and then it just happened. Well, one good example of that, I guess, is early in 2017. This is January timeframe as I was finishing up my goals. Remember, I teach a goal setting time management workshop. Very good. You'll be hearing about that soon, going into 2018. But I said to Nicole and my husband, I said, you know what? Something big is coming. I can feel it. I'm going to be on the stage again. I don't know where, I don't know how. I used to do a lot of public speaking, and then the kids were really little, so I didn't travel as much for that when I spoke for HP. I said, I just get this feeling I'm going to be on the stage again, and I need to prepare for it. So I spent a lot of time with that in the back of my mind, based on what I was learning and reading. And sure enough, in September, I ended up on a stage in front of 400 people talking about business and marketing. And as I was walking up to the stage, I could not believe that had all come to pass. It was just so fascinating, because what you think about most often, you will become, and it will happen. Oh my goodness, it's like the law of attraction, The Secret. Again, all of this frou-frou stuff that I used to kind of, I don't know, question, roll my eyes at. Who's the idiot? It's me! Anyway, I'm going to post the links to my favorite 2017 books. I narrowed it down to 12 out of over 50. And then I have the link to all of my recommended reading books. I didn't add all of them. I added a lot because it would be thousands. I think I got the list down to 100. I'm also going to start adding the books that I wish to read so you can see what's upcoming. Now, in a previous video, we had talked about possibly starting a book club entering into the year. Mara was going to head that up, so we're still kicking around some ideas. Let me know your thoughts. Also, did you read an awesome book in 2017? What was it? Share it, because I will pick it up tomorrow and finish it by the end of the week. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next video.